Hare Krishna. Okay, 7 o'clock, I guess we better make a start, but I'll get mum and dad otherwise in time. Nice to see you all. Thank you very much for coming to this Friday evening Transcendental Sangha. We have some very special guests coming this evening, I hope. Very special guests, so they'll be here in a while, hopefully. So, I see a new face. Hi. What's your name?
Aliyah.
Sorry?
Aliyah.
Aliyah. Welcome, Aliyah. So how did you come to be here? Just out of interest?
A few months ago, there were people handing out the Gita.
Oh, well, here in Rochester? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. He's guilty. He's probably him. That's it, now you're caught now.
It worked for at least one person.
Well, thank you for coming. It's nice to meet you. Okay, so do you know what goes on here? Right, okay. Just a quick overview then for a couple of minutes. This process that we engage in is called Bhakti Yoga. A very ancient process which was based on the Bhagavad Gita, which was spoken 5,000 years ago. So it's not something new, it's not some new age hippie philosophy or anything. This is a very, very deeply rooted ancient philosophy. In fact, the Goswamis and the people who taught this and practiced this process are the oldest monastic tradition in the world. In fact, in the universe, actually, when we go to deeper study, we find that this is an eternal process which has nothing to do with religion. It is transcendental to religious designations and everything else, because and that we understand by study of the Bhagavad Gita and various other Vedic literatures and teachings from various gurus and sages from ages past. So the process is meditation, and what we do here is we start off with some meditation, and then we have a Hare Krishna. That's where our guest has arrived. How are you? Nice to see you. Meditation, which we do, which you can either do individually or in a group. Of course, in Sangha we do it in a group, but every day, if you practice Bhakti, we do this meditation personally as well. So we have some meditation, and we have a little talk in the classroom. Tonight, unfortunately, a very senior devotee, one of our guru's disciples, way back, so, and a mentor of mine, so I'm very, very pleased to see. And then we have some vegetarian or vegan supper as well. Of course, Prabhupada, our guru, was very insistent that we have that. And so the meditation, you pick it up as we go along. I won't explain too much about it, but I think we'll make a start, because we'll probably have to fit a lot in this evening. So we do the meditation. We start with some prayers to our spiritual master, to our gurus, and to the last incarnation of Krishna, who spread this Hare Krishna mantra meditation around the world. So it's very easy. It's 3 words: Hare Krishna Rama. And with all meditation, it's just a case of focusing on this sound vibration, which is a transcendental sound vibration. It's not material sound, so it has a different effect to chanting or singing mundane songs. Hare Krishna, Nick, nice to see you. Okay? So we'll do that, and then we'll have a class from his Grace Bhagavat Ashraya Prabhu after that, and then take it from there.
Krishna
Hare you all here. Thank you all very much for coming. In our lives, there are life events and people who actually alter the course of our lives, Yeah? Certain people have that effect in our lives and they change the direction of our lives. And our guest tonight is one of them people for me, personally. I'm very, very grateful and very happy to always to see this person. Because it had a very profound effect on my life way back in the early 1980s. And truth be told, if it wasn't for this person, we probably wouldn't be here this evening, actually, because him and his wife, Sava, they supported and promoted these programs here and also in Essex and everything, came regularly, gave up everything to help to serve, support and to encourage us and engage us in devotional service. He certainly engaged me. So I'm very pleased to welcome our special guest, a disciple, senior devotee, a disciple of Srila Prabhupada. So I think we want to welcome our guest in the usual way, and we'll put our hands in the air, please, and chant very loudly 3 Haribols. Haribol! 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 So I'm very grateful that you come to see us again. Bhagavat Ashraya.
Wow, so many people. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I think I've said it here before, but I always like a joke that I heard about Winston Churchill, where he was giving a talk somewhere, and the person who introduced him said all favourable and laudable, praiseworthy things about him. And he sat there while he was being introduced, and then when they gave him the microphone, he said, well, after an introduction like that, I'm very interested to hear what I have to say. This chanting, Srila Prabhupada explains to us, this chanting puts us directly in touch with Krishna. Directly in touch with Krishna. This is not a belief. This is truth. You can believe anything. Just like in World War, or before World War II, Hitler convinced the German people that they were the master race, and that the Third Reich would last for 1,000 years. And people believed it. They bought into that belief. But it wasn't true. It wasn't true. There's a very clear distinction between what you may believe and what is the truth. This is the truth. This is, the absolute truth. There are so many relative truths. We live in a relative world. One thing is relative to another. One thing is dependent upon another. And everything here is temporary. Everything here is temporary. This life is temporary. This body is temporary. All these forms, this building is temporary. The elements that it's all made up of, they're not temporary. They're also eternal. Who was it? The great Isaac Newton. He came to the conclusion that matter cannot be created or destroyed. It can be transformed from one condition to another. But you can't bring anything into existence from nothing. You can't create matter. You can use matter to make some temporary creation. That's the truth. the truth is we are actually not products of matter. Everything we see, everything we can see and taste and touch and smell and hear in the material world is a product of matter. Everything. But we could do a little exercise here to illustrate the point that I'm getting to about how we are not actually products of matter. If we all just close our eyes for a minute or two and start by just listening to what's happening, listen to what's going on around us. Just for a minute or so. You can hear some traffic off in the distance. Little girls murmuring here. Take a deep breath and relax a little, and then shift your attention to your body. Observe what's happening with your body at the moment. Are you comfortable, or you have a little pain somewhere? Just give it a bit of attention. Then just relax a little more and take a deep breath and shift your attention to your mind. Maybe you're thinking about something that's been happening today, or some problem you have, or some person you love. Different things come into the mind all the time. So then just let that go. Let's all just come back together here. It's not a big thing. But I just want to point out from this experience that we have here that we observed what was going on around us. We observed what was happening in our bodies to whatever degree we can. There's lots of things happening in our bodies that we have no awareness of. And then we observed what was happening, what was going on in our minds. So it's a simple fact that if you're observing something, you're not what you're observing. You are the observer. So there's a world around you, there's your body, there's your mind, and there's you. So what are you? If you're observing something that you're not, you're observing your body and your mind, and you're observing this world around you. You're not these things. You're in these things. We're all, I like to think about that a lot. We're all in something. We're all in something. We're in our bodies. We're in this room. We're in the building. The building's in Rochester. Rochester's in Kent. Kent's in England. England's in the earth. The earth's in the universe. And so on. We're always in, and we're always in a particular state of consciousness. So, Srila Prabhupada established the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And he used to explain, Krishna is not somebody you don't know. He's somebody you've forgotten. You've lost your consciousness of Krishna. Because if we accept Krishna as a philosopher, which he is, he's the greatest philosopher, but amongst philosophers, everybody begins with a proposition about reality, about what is the truth of existence. So Krishna's first proposition is that there was never a time when we did not exist, and he did not exist. And there will never be a time in the future where we cease to exist. Where we cease to exist. Srila Prabhupada wrote a very beautiful little book called Beyond Birth and Death. What a great title. What a great title. And what a challenging assumption. What a challenging proposal. That we exist beyond birth and death. In other words, we've never been born. We never came into existence because we never did not exist. And we will never die because we will never cease to exist. This body is temporary. This world is temporary. And in this world we live in forgetfulness of our spiritual identity, of our actual identity. Identity is defined by relationship. We're born into a certain family, born into a certain community, race, species, whatever designation you want to put on the circumstances of your birth, that gives you an identity. I am so-and-so from such and such, and so on and so forth. But again, that's temporary. That's temporary. So if we accept Krishna's proposal that we, the observers, are actually eternal beings. We are the observers, there's no doubt of that. We observe happiness, we observe distress, we observe heat, we observe cold, we observe so many dualities and variegated things in this world. But we're just simply observing. And we're simply just passing through. Every time I go somewhere, I travel a lot. And so I always like to go to new places because it's wonderful to come back to old places too. And meet old friends and so on. But when I go somewhere new, people say, well, what do you want to talk about? And I say, well, we're just passing through. I'm just passing through. And that's the next proposition Krishna makes. He says, we're eternal beings. Never was there a time when we did not exist, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. But then he says, Prabhupada uses the language of the Western world when he says, he translates Krishna's next statement from the Bhagavad Gita as the embodied soul passes in this body from childhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. The self-realized soul is not bewildered by such change. The change of bodies is bewildering without knowledge of the self, without the knowledge that I am not the body and I am not the mind, but I am the living being, the eternal living being, the soul in the body, in this body. I don't know about you all, but I was brought up to believe that I had a soul, that I had a soul. But still that never answers the question, well, who am I that has it? I have a house, I have a car, I have a phone, I have so many things, but I'm none of those things. So if I have a soul, then what am I? We have this idea of a soul, but we still don't there's a dissonance there. Well, it was for me. Until I read this book, read this Bhagavad Gita as it is, and suddenly when Krishna's talking about this principle in the second chapter, this verses 11 to 30, Prabhupada describes that this is Krishna's chapter on the nature of the soul. What is that? 20 verses, 21 verses, or 19 verses, something like that. 19 verses. He outlines this. And while I was reading, suddenly it just, what do they say? The penny dropped. The penny dropped. Oh, I don't have a soul. I am the soul. I'm this entity that Krishna's talking about here. He's saying, never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor in the future shall we cease to be. This is truth. And this is the beginning of knowledge. If you don't know this, what's the use of everything else you know? Because everything else you know is about how to live in this world. But you can't stay here. You might say, oh, well, you've got to take the good with the bad in life. I'll tolerate the difficulties, but I'll live here. Well, no, sir. Your time is up. You have to leave. Well, can we make a deal? No. You have to leave now. Time is up. So this is such important knowledge. The self-realized soul is not bewildered by the changes. I remember back in the 60s and 70s, there was a lot of talk about change. The times, they are changing. And then David Bowie had a song, Changes. And Donovan had a song, don't let the changes get you down, man. Don't let the changes get you down. Because they're going to come, no matter what. We all had little bodies like this little girl. We all were little children, yes? Bored stiff by our parents taking us to some place. We had to sit still for half an hour and not make a noise. We've all been through it. We've been through that. But that doesn't last, does it? It changes. Changes. Yeah. And next thing you know, you're old. You're old. And death has come, knocking on your door. And you have to leave. You don't know where you're going. Or you don't even know if you're going to go anywhere. You don't even know if you're going to exist. Because the nature of this world is you're always faced with the inevitability, or what appears to be the inevitability of not existing anymore. And nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. Everyone wants to live. Everybody wants to live. Even a little ant running across the table, you come bring your finger up here, he'll go around. He doesn't want, no. He's after something. And if you try to swat him, he doesn't want to die. Nobody wants to die. But death is inevitable. So that's bewildering because you have no knowledge. You can believe in something after death, but then you're only going to guess what that is. You're only going to speculate about what that is, or you're going to go to some person who's going to give you a belief system. But then the question arises, well, is there a God? Is there a God who is the source of all of this? Because that's one of the what do they say? The generic qualities of this personality or this entity called God. That God is the maker of heaven and earth. God is the source of everything. But if we do a little bit of etymology on the word God, God's not the name of a person. God's the name of a position. The position is the Father of all living beings, the Creator of everything, the omnipotent, omniscient, all-merciful God. Yeah. So these are some of the qualities of this person, or some of the powers attributed to this position. Just like President of the United States has certain powers, certain protocols, what do they call it? Privileges. But the question is, well, who's the president? Who is that? The president's seat is there, and there's always somebody different in it, but there's always a person in it. And in the material world, we see that has to change. Everything changes. So it's not that there is the President of the United States forever, this person, or just like here, the king is dead, long live the king. So who's the king? So the question then is, if there is a God, who is he? Who is this person? So that's a matter of fact. Who is this person? And where do I get knowledge of this person? And how can I know this person? Because one of the qualities attributed to God is that he's the Father of everyone. He's the Father of us all. So wouldn't you think it pretty strange if you knew you had a father but you were never allowed to meet him? You were never allowed to be with him? And that's a beautiful thing in the George Harrison song, My Sweet Lord. I really want to be with you. I really want to see you. I really want to be with you. Why is that? Why is that? It's because we have a relationship with him. And that's actually where we find our eternal identity. Our temporary identities, you can't imagine how many identities you've had in the material world. The number of lifetimes we've lived in the material world is unlimited. You can't count, you can't conceive of how many births and deaths we've had, how many bodies we've had, how many identities we've had on the basis of the relationships that pertain to that body. But we want relationship and we want identity. Who am I? What am I for? Where do I fit? That's because we all have an eternal relationship with Krishna. This is personal. This is personal. And it's always astounding when you contemplate this, that this supreme, almighty, all-knowing, all-seeing, omnipresent person is someone we know and somebody we have a relationship with. But who we forgot? We forgot. And that's why, as I said at the beginning, this chanting is so important, because this chanting puts us directly in contact with Krishna. You want to be with Krishna? Come to the Kirtan. Come to the Mahamantra Kirtan. And you're with Krishna. And you feel Krishna's presence. You feel Krishna's presence. And you lose all of the weight and the heaviness and the sadness and the depression and the miserable feelings that you have to carry around with you all day long. We become transported to the spiritual world. We become transported. It's magic. This is magic. This is real magic. That here within this material world, we're suddenly in the spiritual world. Because actually we're always in the spiritual world. But the material world is that part of the spiritual world which is covered by ignorance and forgetfulness. The cloud is a part of the sky, and it's pervaded by the sky. But what's inside the cloud is not what's outside the cloud. So, what's inside the material world is not very nice. It's not very nice. Although we're, it's a beautiful place. We just drove down by the Medway, we got down by the Medway River tonight and looked around. And it's beautiful, beautiful. This beautiful material world is simultaneously not a nice place. Because there's so much here to be attached to and affectionate about, and nostalgic about, and attached to, and give your love to. But then, in the midst of all of that, death comes and you have to leave. It's another line, one of George Harrison's line. One day, what happens? All of us, one day, the day will come when all of us must leave here. We must leave. So, at 8 o'clock, in an hour or so, we're all going to leave here. So where are you going to go? Where do you want to go? Where are you going when you leave?
Back to miserable lives.
Huh?
Back to our miserable lives.
You're going home. Yeah? We're going home. And that was Prabhupada's message. So you're going to have to leave here, you're going to have to leave this world, you're going to have to leave this life, you're going to have to leave this body and everything you identify with here. You're going to have to leave it all. So what are your options? Well, you need to know something. You need to know. So this Bhagavad Gita is a roadmap. Gives you roadmaps. You can go to the heavenly planets. You can go to the hellish planets. You can so many different destinations within the material world. But the material world's like Hotel California. You can check out any time you like, but you can never leave unless you know the way out. And for that you need clues. You need a clue. You know what a clue is? It's an ancient word for a ball of wool. A ball of wool was called a clue. And there's a story from what is called Greek mythology, just like they say Hindu mythology. But Greek mythology is just as much history as so-called Hindu mythology. Krishna exists, Ram exists, Vaikuntha exists, Vishnu exists, all the Vishnu expansions exist. So also in what they call Greek mythology is history of relationships actually between the humans and the demigods, the humans and the demons. So there was a creature called the Minotaur of Crete. And on Crete, they had this huge labyrinth to contain the Minotaur. But he needed to be placated, so there had to be a human sacrifice. So they had to agree to send a man in there every month for him to eat. So this one particular man was condemned to go in there, and just as he was about to enter, his wife gave him a ball of wool. And she said, as you go in, unravel this ball of wool. And when you get to the end of the ball of wool, you stop. And you wait till you know it's dark. Just your sense of time will tell you that it's dark now. And then you just follow this thread and you'll come out. That's a clue. So we all need the clue. Is there a clue? There must be some way out of here. You pick up a lot from popular culture. There must be some way out of here, said the Joker to the thing. There must be a way out. There's got to be. Every intelligent person is going to say, it's got to be more than this. There's got to be more than this. Is this all it is? I've come into existence through the sex life of my parents. And I'll live this few years and I'll struggle and I'll struggle for the future, to have a better future. It's all about the future. You got to get an education. Why? So you can have a better future. And what will you get with that better future? Well, you get a better way of life. You get a better standard of living. But somewhere in that future, it's all going to end. So any intelligent person, there was a book by a great philosopher, novelist, H.G. Wells. He wrote War of the Worlds. The last book he wrote was Mind at the End of Its Tether. Because with all the mundane philosophy that he'd studied and all of the science that he'd studied, he still had no answer to why do I have to die? And what is the point of all my efforts if it all ends in this? So Krishna gives us the clue and he gives us the roadmap. You've got to go somewhere. So he says, you can come to me. You can come to me by associating with me now. And through that, you'll develop a taste for me. We're all here because we've got a taste now. Yeah? And Prabhupada used to say, be very careful, you'll become addicted to Krishna. Because we're all addicts anyway. Addiction is not a bad thing. It's what you get addicted to. But addiction is our natural nature. The essence of the word addiction is that you give yourself over to the dictation of someone else. Originally in Roman times. It's a Latin word. So we just saw it here tonight on the way in. Again, the old almshouses. Yes? So you were in debt. So in Roman days, if I had a debt to you that I couldn't repay, I didn't have the means, so we would go before a magistrate, and the magistrate would work out a time of addiction, where I would have to go and be your menial servant at a certain rate for a certain time until it was considered the debt is complete. That is addiction. So we become addicted now, in this world, we're addicted to sex gratification. We've given ourselves over to the dictates of the illusions of fame and beauty and strength and knowledge. I'm Australian, you may have noticed, and on the ABC in Australia they have a program called Australian Story, and they they tell things about the lives of significant people in Australia, but also just common people here and there who've done heroic things. So I saw one about the original lead singer of the band AC/DC. Yeah, you've seen this? Yeah. So I can't remember his name. Scott something. Bon Scott. That's it. So Bon Scott was a troubled lad. He was a very troubled lad from a difficult background, but he could sing. He could sing. So he got into the music world, and he became the lead singer of AC/DC. But then he died tragically. He had a tragic death. And in this program about him, there was an interview with a person who'd known him from the very beginning of his involvement in the music business. He was actually, this person was the person who gave him his first gig with a band. And he knew it all the way through. And he said he wanted to climb the mountain and claim the holy grail of rock and roll. You know, the grail means the cup. You know, like they have the cup for the FA Cup. You know, this big cup, and they fill it with champagne and so on. So as the song goes, it's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll. So he really worked hard. That song tells the whole life of a rock and roll song. And then the man said, and when he got to the top and he got the Holy Grail, he found it was just another empty cup. Another empty cup. But he had a purpose. He wanted to go somewhere. He wanted to achieve something. So Krishna says, you can achieve me. You can regain your lost relationship with me if you accept my proposition. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings here. You're all my parts and parcels, Krishna says. You all belong to me. Oh. And we all want to belong, don't we? We all want to belong. What was that? That police song, oh, can't you see that you belong to me? Or that Beatles song, it won't be long. It won't be long till I belong to you. Belonging. Forever. Krishna says, here it is. Come to me. And it's so simple. It's so simple. Prabhupada used to say, it's so simple you can miss it. You just have to take up this chanting as a way of being with Krishna. And you become addicted to it. You want to give yourself over to it because it captures your heart. You can't deny that. Transform your heart. That's what we're doing. That's what this Krishna consciousness movement is all about. Transform your heart. You could take that old Joe Cocker song and change it. Transform my heart. Transform your heart and you'll be free. Free from old age, free from birth, free from old age, free from death, free from disease. Free to love again, to just love Krishna. And that's actually what we exist for, to love Krishna. That's all. And Krishna wants us back in that relationship. So here's a way out. Here's a way forward. Here's a life. Take it. Take it. Become addicted to Krishna. Surrender to Krishna. Give your life to Krishna. You won't be the loser. You won't be the loser. And don't make it a secret love. Because that's another song. Once I had a secret love, but now my secret love is no secret anymore. Because your love for Krishna will grow, and Krishna's love for you will grow if you become an agent in the world to give this knowledge, to give this experience to others. Yes? This is the Krishna consciousness movement in the world. It's only young, it's only fledgling. We're a minority. How many people live in Rochester? How many people live in the Medway towns? And what are we here? 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 22, 23. There's about 24, 25 of us here tonight. Actually, that's a pretty good turnout. That's a pretty good turnout. But everyone is just like us. Krishna says a very important thing in the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita about being a yogi. He says, he is the perfect yogi who by virtue of his own experience can see the true equality of all living entities in both their happiness and their distress. He's talking about a devotee. The perfect yogi is the Bhakti yogi. Krishna recommends that you should be a yogi. The best path to take in life is the path of a yogi. But he says that the best yogi, the highest of all, is the one who is most intimately united with me in yoga. Yeah? Knowing that this is the absolute truth of our existence. We exist to be in love with Krishna. And that is reawakened in us through what we're doing. Gradually, that dormant love within our hearts grows, awakens, springs up like the trees after the winter. They drop all their leaves. Not every tree, but the ones who drop their leaves, they seem to be dead in the winter. But then when the spring comes, they burst back into life. So love for Krishna is dormant within the heart of everyone. And the revival process is this hearing and chanting. So you don't have to be a big well-beating person, big preacher, but if you in your life can just help one other person become awakened to this, then you become very dear to Krishna. And Krishna recognizes you for that. And you don't have to be anybody special in the world. You don't have to be a lawyer, you don't have to be a PhD, you don't even have to be able to read. There's a beautiful story am I going on too long? No? There's a beautiful story in Chaitanya Charitamrita where Lord Chaitanya, who's, as Mukunda said at the beginning, Lord Chaitanya is the inaugurator of this Sankirtan movement in the world. Lord Chaitanya is none other than Krishna himself, appearing in the mood of his dearmost devotee, his most intimate devotee, his most intimate lover, Srimati Radharani. Lord Gauranga, he's Krishna, but he's Twisa Krishna, Krishna. He's Krishna, but he's not the colour of Krishna. He's the colour of molten gold, like the body of Srimati Radharani. And he's in the mood of ecstatic love for Krishna. Anyway, he was travelling in India, spreading this chanting around, and he visited a temple once, and in the temple there was a lot of Brahmins. Brahmins who do the puja, Brahmins who teach the Shastra, the Vedic, the Trivedis, the Ekavedis, the Chaturvedis. But there was one Brahmin there who was illiterate. He couldn't read. But his spiritual master had instructed him to chant all 700 verses of Bhagavad Gita every day. So he would hold this book and turn the pages and just try to do something. And all the other learned Brahmins would make fun of him. Oh, so Brahmin, how are you doing today with your reading? Teasing him. And he would tolerate it. Lord Chaitanya visited that temple. And this Brahmin drew Lord Chaitanya's attention. So he approached him. He said, Brahmin, what are you doing? And the Brahmin could understand Lord Chaitanya, this person, he didn't know who Lord Chaitanya was. But he said, well, he could tell him this person wasn't there to tease him. He was genuinely interested. What are you doing? And he explained his situation. He said, oh, sir, I'm illiterate, but my Guru Maharaj, he told me to chant all the verses of Bhagavad Gita every day, so I hold the book and I turn the pages and I try to do something. And Lord Chaitanya said to him, yes, but I've been watching you, and sometimes I see you're crying while you hold this book. You're crying. He said, yes, sometimes I cry. And Lord Chaitanya said, why is that? He said, because when I hold this book and I close my eyes, this image comes before me. We're not going to blow up, are we? Run, everyone, run. This image comes before me. I close my eyes and this image comes before me, and I see Krishna driving the chariot of Arjuna. And I think, how wonderful is my Lord that he has become the servant of his devotee. Lord Chaitanya embraced him and said, your reading of Bhagavad Gita is perfect. You just catch up this simple message. Here is Krishna. Krishna has intervened in our lives to show us how we can wake up from this dream of material existence, re-establish our lost eternal relationship with Him, and go back home, back to Godhead, and live with Krishna. And it all starts here in the Friends Meeting House in Rochester. We come here, we come in out of that world, we come here, we sit on these material chairs or this material floor, and the kirtan starts, and we go somewhere else. Everybody's trying to... You can check out any time you like, but you can never leave. Well, this is checkout time, folks, and you can leave. You can leave it all behind. You can leave this dream of material life, of happiness and distress, up and down, in and out, all around. You can leave it all behind and go back home, back to God, by this simple process of hearing and chanting Krishna's name, hearing and chanting Krishna's pastimes, hearing and chanting glorification of Krishna by his devotees. It's all Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. I think I did go on a bit long, didn't I? It usually goes on long. Oh, all right. Okay. I'm okay. Does anyone have any questions or that they want to ask, or any reflections you have? If not, we'll have a bit more. Oh, yes.
Whatever we hear from Shastras and Sadhus like yourself, things seem...
What do we hear from?
So whatever we hear from Shastras and Sadhus like yourself, things seem very far out.
Sorry?
Things seem very far out.
This is the most far out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how to believe that this is real?
Chant Hare Krishna with an open heart. Suspend your disbelief and do the experiment. Open up your heart to Krishna. Allow your heart to transform. Surrender. Put down all your defenses. Let Krishna in. Let Krishna work his magic. Simple. So simple. Prabhupada said, you can miss it. You can make it all too intellectual. The Brahmin who couldn't even read, he didn't miss it. Because he had a simple and open heart. It's the KISS program. Keep it simple, stupid. Don't be stupid. We're all in a stupor. We're all stupid. Because we think, this is me. And that's you. That's stupid. In essence, it is. But getting to that essence, you have to get through all this mental garbage of what I believe, what I don't believe. Fact is fact. Doesn't matter what you believe. Like, I could have two little white pills in my hand, exactly the same size, shape, yes? Or both of them tasteless. And I'd say, this one's aspirin, this one's arsenic. What does it matter what you believe? No, I believe that's the aspirin and that's the arsenic. Okay, you got a headache? Take this one. Belief, this is way beyond belief, because Krishna says, although the embodied soul, that's us, may become restricted for sense enjoyment, the taste for sense objects still remains. But ceasing such engagements with objects of the senses, by experiencing a higher taste, one becomes fixed in consciousness. You can't deny the taste. You can't deny the taste. But don't allow yourself, or if you do become, don't allow yourself to be distracted. But if you do become distracted, best you stay in the association of the devotees so that you, come on, snap out of it. Come back to reality. There you go. Even a child can do it. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So let's do some now. Kirtan. Hare Krishna.
His Grace Bhagavat Ashraya Prabhu Ki Jai! Jai!
Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Kota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai, Princhapaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki jai, Jagannath ki jai, Jagannath ki jai, Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Vrindavan ki jai, Mayapur Dham ki jai, Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai, Jagannath Swami ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Tulsi Devi ki jai, Govinda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Nittai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Hari Bo. Hari Bo. Hari.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Some of our members are doing first time, and let us welcome them. I hope that you have a fantastic time. You want to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name's Aaliyah. I'm local. I was approached by someone who watched the Gita, and I haven't read it yet. I wanted to experience it, and it's just such a warm sense of belonging. So I'm glad I came.
Welcome her again. By 3 Hari Bols. Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
So tomorrow we have a very, very special festival. So we have Lord Jagannath Rath Yatra, and it is happening tomorrow at Cobham Farm, and it is from 1 o'clock. Yeah? Yes. North Kent Rath Yatra, Kirtan, dance and vegetarian feast. Yes, when we get together, we chant, we dance, and we feast together. That's the formula we have. So no one walks away hungry. They have to leave with full belly. That's what we like. Prasadam should be there. So that's that. And if anyone is interested in joining our book club, so every Thursday from 7 to 8, we read books. So if you're a part of the group in the North Kent Sangha, please join from there. You have a link available there. So join that.
It's online.
It's online, sorry, yeah. It's online, it's on Zoom. So remember to come in person. Everyone works, I work as well, everyone works. So it's impossible to meet. So it's on Zoom. And we have finished first book, The Science of Self-Realization, just this Thursday. And we're going to start what book?
Krishna.
Krishna! That's the Krishna book. We're starting to read from next Thursday. Yeah, so please join. Don't miss out. Krishna's. We hear so much about Krishna, and Guruji talks so much about the world that we don't know yet, but we all striving to go back. That's our goal. So let's read about, the description of the master and description of the home where we belong to. Yeah, so please join. I think that's it. Do you have any other announcements? Yes, Prabhuji is back to us again on the 3rd of July, I think. 3rd of July?
Tomorrow you're coming?
Yes, Prabhuji is coming tomorrow, so you don't miss his association. Yeah, so it is on the 3rd of July, 3rd or 4th of July, whatever Friday that week is, first week of July. So Prabhuji is going to be again with us. Yeah, that's it. Now it's Prasadam time. Prasadam mantra.